Hi everyone, welcome back to Pandora's Pod. This is the second episode where we're going to be talking about our top 3 favorite Marvel movies. I'm Mary Catherine.
I'm Callum.
And how you doing today?
I'm doing good. I didn't like getting up very early.
Yeah, we've had an interesting day. We're both kind of feeling off, I would say. This time I'm the one who's a little bit underprepared just because I don't have much written down. That's because all my notes are in my head.
Also, she's not as much of a Marvel fan as I am.
Yeah, actually, why don't we start with that and our relationship to Marvel movies, like, in general.
I'm not going to say Marvel is the greatest, but I do have sort of like a preference to Marvel because that's primarily what I grew up with. Because of our dad, he has a lot of comics, and him and our uncle tended to put on the Marvel movies quite often whenever they got the chance.
It was a Marvel household more than a DC household, I would say.
10,000%. I won't say I'm a DC hater, but I'm not a DC lover. I've never been able to get into it.
The only DC character that I've really fallen in love with is the Flash, but that's only because of the Flash TV show that was on the CW. Everybody I feel like has like Disney fatigue nowadays between all the like live action remakes, all the Marvel movies that they're just pumping out, all the Marvel fucking TV shows, like nobody can keep track.
Sorry to interrupt. The only TV show that I've been able to sit down and really watch and enjoy is WandaVision.
I thought you watched Loki.
I tried to, but I couldn't. The episodes were so long, and I only got to the second episode before I couldn't.
Yeah. I watched a few episodes of WandaVision. They were really good. Watched a few episodes. Not even a few episodes. You know how dads like stand there and watch TV when you're watching? That's how I watched Loki. I watched actually a few episodes of She-Hulk. Because everybody was hating on it, and I wanted to see Megan Thee Stallion. It wasn't that bad. Do we want to say our favorite superhero? I don't know if y'all can tell. We're going to be doing our Spider-Man episode next week.
I personally like Andrew Garfield's movies a little bit more, but I also hold on, listen, please wait.
Cancelled.
My current favorite Marvel movie is Thor: Love and Thunder, and I saw it in theaters actually. It was so good. I cried like 3 times, especially at the ending. We'll probably get to the ending. I don't remember if I have that in my notes or not, but I think the only thing that I have written down is essentially like the way that anger and frustration towards the gods is shown. It opens up with Gore, an unknown being on an unknown planet, and he's like starving. He's already lost his lover, his other children, and he has one final daughter, I think, that he's like carrying. He's trying to like hold her and pray to the gods, and the gods don't answer his prayers, and she ends up dying. And the last thing he has of her is some like drawings on the rocks that were praising the god that he prayed to, specifically the sun god, known as the bringer of light. And I think in the comics, he ended up getting like banished from his planet / tribe, I think. And for becoming like atheistic, because the gods didn't answer his prayers. He lost like everything. And later on, he finds this like huge, lush, full of life oasis. Visibly, you can tell it was created by a god. And he goes in and he finds, I think it's Rapu. Don't judge the pronunciation, please. Which is the bringer of light. And instead of what Gore imagined as like, he's gonna help me, he's gonna answer my prayers, he'll like, I'll have faith again, the god mocks him and brags about his own achievement, specifically the achievement of killing what we think is Ka. Again, might have butchered the pronunciation. He was the previous holder of the Necro Sword. It's not mentioned in the movie, but the Necro Sword is actually all black, the Sword of No, the symbiote deity, which much like a symbiote, the sword would attach to its like possessor, and it would stay until death. It's not. It's more of a curse than an attachment in the movies, since technically symbiotes and Venom are Sony and not Marvel. It's a whole thing. This is when Gore takes the sword from Ka's dead body and he uses it to kill the bringer of light. And from there, he grows to resent all the gods because he was neglected by not only his god but also the rest of the gods that like probably somehow could have heard his prayers and been like, "Hey, you're kind of ignoring your people." He grew to resent all higher beings that weren't mortal. He's driven by anger, rage, desire for revenge, and he, in my professional opinion, he had every right to need and want revenge, but he approached it wrong. Kind of a rough transition, but moving on from Gore, we also see that anger from Thor as well. It's been a minute since I've watched the movie. I might be mixing certain things up, but Thor, Valkyrie, and I forget the other one's name, but he was the rock dude.
Figure.
He's there at the meeting of all the gods, and he looks up to Zeus. Zeus is his idol. But when Zeus denies his ask of like the army that he wanted to bring down Gore, the dude with the sword, he's left angry and questioning how Zeus could like just stand by. He's idolized Zeus for ages, and now he's faced with the reality that his precious god is actually some really mean person that's incapable of compassion and empathy, like any basic human emotion. And that also brings another point that I won't really get into, but the movie also brings in the question of like, are gods capable of like actual human emotion, like love, freaking, I just blanked on all emotions, oh my god.
Me. From what I heard in like the reviews and like I think I was still on Twitter when this came out, everybody was like bagging on it and trash talking it, even though like the same director from Ragnarok came back. What makes this your favorite?
I think, okay, I'm not gonna disagree with the hate. I know that I have not fully analyzed this movie and like possible plot holes, flaws in the story or movie in general. I've not done that yet, so keep that in mind, please.
We're not movie critics, we're movie enjoyers.
Yeah, if I visually like a movie, I'm not gonna go back and analyze it.
Yeah, if people are like, "Oh, it's bad CGI," I'm like, I don't care. Did you see that flip Spider-Man did?
Also, she watched Buffy and Charm. I watched Charm too.
The effects were good for the time.
For the time.
And they have a TV budget, not a movie Disney budget.
Yeah, I guess.
And they used more practical effects versus Disney uses a fucking CGI. Anyways, what makes it like your favorite?
I think
Just like the theme of like the anger towards the gods, which we will talk about more about in our Percy Jackson episode, but go on.
Sorry, that got me a little excited. I think not only, like I said, the anger towards the gods, how it's like represented and shown. I think another thing that I really like is Thor and Jane. I think their bond and how they come to like realize that, hey, we still love each other. But then Jane is like, I have cancer.
Bruh, I have not seen the movies. That's crazy. She got cancer from Thor's hammer. Doesn't she wield it?
She does, yes.
She's worthy. Everybody's worthy nowadays. Fucking Iron Man holding that shit. He is not worthy. I'm sorry.
I liked the ending where, should I spoil it again?
Oh, I'm not gonna watch it.
Okay.
So yeah.
Jane dies.
Oh my god!
Okay, Gwen Stacy.
What the hell?
I cried a lot. I think mostly, I don't remember like off the top of my head what the last thing that they said to each other was. Probably something cheesy like I love you or something. But something about their last words to each other ended up making me cry really hard. Thor managed to get into what I think is called nowhere. He freaking managed to like get his daughter back through the, I think it's like a wish thing. Again, sorry, have not watched the movies in a hot minute. But he gets his daughter back, but he dies, and then his last words are like, please take care of my daughter. Jaden shouldn't have died. I think that I feel very strongly about that. I understand, like, for, like, the movie, why she had to, but I still think she shouldn't have, because her and Thor could have raised, I don't remember her name, oh my god, the little girl.
Since we're on the topic of that, there is a term called fridging. Have you heard about it?
No.
In the Green Lantern comics, he finds his wife dead in a fridge, and so that's why they call it fridging.
Oh.
It's like where they kill off the female characters, mostly like their moms or their girlfriends or wives and stuff, to further the plot and further the male character's development. Do you think that's what they did here, or was some deaths are really meaningful and really justified, but do you think that's what they did here?
Honestly, I don't think so, because she did have cancer, and wielding Mjolnir, I think that's what it's called, did end up taking a huge toll on her while she had the cancer. So, I feel like yes and no.
Again, I haven't seen this one, so I'm just trust calm judgment on this.
That doesn't mean you guys should. Thor makes a great father figure.
Now, see, this is gonna tie into your next movie also.
Oh, I have to talk about it twice in a row?
Well, no.
Okay.
But Callum seems to like father figures. It's a theme. It's a theme. It's a theme. Now let's get into my number one. Which, okay, this is gonna be controversial, but I don't care. My number one is Wakanda Forever, which is the second Black Panther movie. Now this one, I saw in theaters, and actually Callum saw it with me for my birthday. And I do want to open with rest in peace Chadwick Boseman. He really embodied T'Challa really well. And like all the projects that I've seen him in since, because I think that was the first movie that I watched him in, he was just such an amazing actor, and he had that like real charm and charisma that I think T'Challa needed, and he really brought the character to life, and Marvel was really lucky to have him. I don't really like some of the ways they characterized him in the first movie versus like the comics, but he did die of cancer, and it was actually the second time he had it. The first time he had cancer, he beat it, and so when he got it again, he like didn't tell anybody, because he in his head he like knew that he was gonna beat it again. Unfortunately, he did pass away. Now, I don't want to be like parasocial or anything, but like when he did die, like very few celebrity deaths I think affect me, but when he did die, it was just like a punch in like the chest. And even though he has passed on, I think he will never really die. First of all, he lives on in his friends and family. He also lives on in his characters that he played, and in the representation that he brought to just like a whole community. Oh, sorry.
You're good.
Spoiler alert, my number 2 is Black Panther, because these movies,
Just in case.
these movies were just very influential, and I think they break the mold of normal Marvel movies, and I really like that. I forget what the director's name is, but I think he did an amazing job. But the reason that the second one is my favorite is because I don't know if y'all can tell, I'm not black, but you also probably can't tell I'm Mexican. Extremely white passing. Get a lot of their influences from the Mayan people. Even in the movie, she's like, these are Mesoamerican artifacts. And I think the culture was really represented beautifully, and they did get like actual people who spoke the language, and like taught it to these actors, and it's like considered like a dying dead language. And I think it's really amazing how they brought it to screen, and like the costume design is really good. I don't like that he was a villain, but the ending kind of makes up for it. But yeah,
He had a really cool like backstory though.
he did. Namor. Actually, let me talk about him for a little bit. They did make him the villain, which the movie opens up kind of. Well, it opens up with the T'Challa's funeral, which I think was beautiful. I cried, like in the theater, like the first 2 minutes of the movie, I cried. But it also opens up with they find the vibranium in the ocean, and it's like the colonizers, it's the feds, and I think it's the first time, maybe, that anti-colonial violence is showed on screen. And it's Namor protecting his people and protecting the vibranium and protecting his secret and stuff. And I thought that was amazing. Like, obviously, oh no, like nobody should die. They're just like doing their job, trying to find vibranium. But what are they finna use that vibranium for? Because later on in the movie, that white bitch, she goes, high agent, who I'll also talk about. But the white guy, the white agent, I don't know his name. He talks to the director. He talks to the director, and then he's like, can you imagine what America would be doing if we had access to vibranium? And then the girl's like, oh, I dream about that. And I'm like, exactly. And that's why they stopped you, and that's why y'all are fucking dead. At the end of the movie, he does become like kind of the good guy, and they become allies. And I think that's really powerful, especially because there is a lot of, in the real world, historical beef, for lack of a better word, between Black Americans and Mexican Americans, and I guess Latino Americans in general. Like but I'm specifically talking about like Mexicans because I'm Mexican. So I know this, and in our community, anti-Blackness is very prevalent, extremely prevalent. Like, there's the meme of like Edgar saying the N-word and like more than Black people, the anti-Blackness and the Spanish language. And just like, you know, your aunties growing up, they're like, oh, stay out of the sun, you're gonna get dark and stuff. And that's also tied into like anti-Indigenousness in the Mexican community. But I think it's really beautiful that they sort of became allies at the end, even though they kind of like set him up to be a villain again. And I'm like, just let him be the good guy. Just let him be the good guy, please. I really do like how ruthless he was. And he was like, you killed one of my people, I'm gonna kill like 100 of yours. Which isn't really shown. Marvel, oftentimes, they either like butcher their villains or they make everybody the good guy, and I think that's kind of what they did with T'Challa. They made him like too passive. Like, he needed to beat up some of the white people. I'm sorry. One of the other points that I wanted to bring up was Shuri and how she became the Black Panther, and she recreated the heart-shaped herb, which I love. A lot of people didn't like it. A lot of people also wanted M'Baku to be the next Black Panther, and I'm like, okay, I get that. That's pretty cool. I didn't like that they gave him so much screen time because he was like the bad guy in the first movie until like the very end, when he like helped save T'Challa and stuff. But like, I feel like they really should have given that screen time to like the other woman, especially his girlfriend. And she had a baby, and like they should have given that emotional depth and that connection to Shuri, and had like more. Everybody's like, oh, it's too female, but like that's what we need. Those are the people that were most connected to T'Challa. Shuri as Black Panther makes a lot of sense. Everybody's like, Shuri's characterization is like so off, and it's like, no, it's not. It makes a lot of sense because she's this immensely gifted child, like kid. She's a child. In the first movie they're like a child who scoffs at tradition, but she's a child, and she's very talented, and like everybody's like wants to stick to tradition, but she's like, no, I can do better, I can make things better. And I think pride is one of her like fatal flaws, and the first time she fails at like anything is with T'Challa. and that guilt that she has. She says over and over again, I'm sorry, brother, I'm sorry. And like the guilt that she feels manifests itself into the anger, and so she sees Killmonger and the ancestral land instead of like her mom or her dad or T'Challa, which she wanted to see. And she gets like even more angry because she's like, why are you here? She's stuck in the anger part of grieving. I think it's amazing how she sort of rebuilds her community. And she recreates the heart-shaped herb from the bracelet, which in the theater, we were in the theater, and I was like, she's gonna recreate the herb from the bracelet before it even happened.
And then when it happened, she's like,
motherfucker, I told you. And she like, at the end of the movie, you could see she's like replanting a bunch, and I think that kind of ties into Avatar and Korra, and how Korra, she had, what is it? Not Vatu. Rava. She had Rava tore from her and destroyed, and it destroyed her connection to Aang and everything, and everybody was so mad. Everybody was like, what? Like, you can't destroy your connection to Aang and Kyoshi and yada yada, this is the worst show ever. But it's beautiful how she sort of like reinvents that and reconnects herself and sort of like makes her own line. And I think it kind of parallels that in a way. And I do like that they gave that white boy less screen time, which I'll talk about more in my second point. But like the feds, they made them more of a bad guy this time, which they are the bad guys. Like, and he's even punished by them because he's giving these information to the Wakandans. How was my favorite colonizer today? And like when she rescues him from being arrested for like betraying or like treason or whatever, she's like, a colonizer in chains. Now I've seen everything. And I'm like, bruh, y'all are so funny.
I love her. She's easily my favorite. Also, she's very snarky.
Yes.
Especially when she's going into the college dorm and she's like, I gave you 5 minutes. No,
I said 5, I gave you 6. Yes. And then, her, oh my god, her acting is also just so amazing. Everybody's acting was so good, but when she's like, put down your spear and like surrender your spear or whatever, and then she's like, Your Majesty, I've given everything, and I'm just like, you have given everything.
Ningathetha umkhanikazi Yume ndiyacela I have given everything.
The queen.
The woman was too stunned to speak.
That scene where she's like, have I not given everything? Chills. Bro, literally hates chills right about it.
I am queen of the most powerful nation in the world, and my entire family is gone. Have I not given everything?
Wanda is taking control of a town in New Jersey to create her own perfect world with Vision and her 2 boys, Billy and Tommy. And to do this, she's using witchcraft, which is frowned upon compared to sorcery, because sorcery is very different from witchcraft in the Marvel world, I guess. And she's using something called the Darkhold, which is a notoriously dangerous book of witchcraft that was not supposed to fall into anyone's hands due to its tempting effects, its after effects, and all sorts of other stuff that I'm probably leaving out. WandaVision shows how the Darkhold is essential to Wanda's mental decline. I might be getting the timeline a little mixed up, but after this, No Way Home happens. And it's crucial to acknowledge how cautious Doctor Strange is when Peter asks him to do the memory wiping spell. And Doctor Strange is like, no, you're gonna, like, it's gonna be, like, fucked up. You're gonna regret it. It's just all gonna, it could go way wrong. By the end of No Way Home, it's very, very evident as to how sensitive the multiverse is, and the timelines and all that. And it's even more evident how sensitive sorcery is, and how easily it can lead to so many unpredictable situations. But does this change anything in Multiverse of Madness? Partially, partially not. Doctor Strange is insane. He's fucking crazy. We see him and America Chavez chasing after the Book of Vishanti, the only book that contains knowledge on America's powers and how to control/contain them without killing her, or taking the powers and then resulting in her injury or death. By the end of the movie, it's failed. The Book of Vishanti is destroyed by Wanda while she's dreamwalking, and she takes America, controls her, sends Strange and Christine into another universe where an incursion happened. An incursion is when two worlds collide and destroy both of those worlds. And Doctor Strange sees this, and in a way, Loki, he said like womp womp. He goes and fights the other self with music notes, which is really funny to me. And frickin' he retrieves the Darkhold from his other self, and Christine is like, whoa, you're being a really big hypocrite right now, dude. This isn't nice. And he's like, no, I got it. Just defend me from these demon ghost things and it'll be chill. It was in fact not chill. He was able to save America and her powers, but like the after credits scene, he has a third eye now. Due to the Darkhold. The after credits scene, some lady showed up and she's like, hey, you fucked this up, so now we have to go back and fucking fix it. So you're coming with us. So he caused an incursion, or borderline caused an incursion? I haven't watched to the end of Multiverse of Madness in a hot minute. Point is, Doctor Strange is insane. So is Wanda, but Wanda is a villain, and I think she's one of my personal favorite villains because of her whole story. I won't get into her story because this isn't about her. As Mary liked to point out earlier, I like father figures. The first interaction with Doctor Strange and America Chavez is like, have I seen you before? Oh, after the dream. He's like, have I seen you before? And she was like, at first he's like, I don't like you. You're a sneaky motherfucker. And then she's like, I don't remember how evident or subtle it is, but through the first part of the movie, it's like, she's afraid of him, she doesn't want to be near him, and she takes a way more evident liking to Wong, is that, I think that's his name?
Wong.
Yeah. Wong, not Wong.
That's what I said.
You said Wong.
Wong.
No. Anyway, to me, that means she's not had that many interactions with him in other universes. Which means he's a nice guy. She's not going to be afraid of him. Well, to an extent, obviously. She's got major trust issues, which makes sense. They're in one of the other universes, and it's this one where it has this memory lane thing, and Doctor Strange steps on it first, and he sees one of his dates with Christine, and it's the one where she gives him the watch, and that's his thing. So America sees that, and she's like, huh, I wonder. But America's thing is when she first discovered her powers and got separated from her mother's. Doctor Strange, he's like, whoa, hey, hold on. What was that? Are you good? And I feel like that was really the start of the found family thing that I view them as. Because that's when he realizes, like, huh, maybe this kid has, like, reason to be so snarky and so mistrusting. She explains it, and you can kind of tell, like, gears are turning in his head. He's coming to the realization that she's actually been through things. And he's like, every other version of me tries to kill you. And she's like, yeah, it's kind of inevitable. But he's convinced that he can find another way to save her. Which he does. Like I said, he gets the Darkhold, he dreamwalks. This Doctor Strange, yeah, he used to be really arrogant. Loki, he still kind of is. But he's less arrogant than he was the last time. And he knows that he can save America somehow. But while I don't like that he used the Darkhold, I do think it's something that shows he cares enough to not do what his other selves did.
We are having recording issues. Why is it crooked? It's okay. So, last thoughts on Multiverse of Madness, which was directed by Sam Raimi, which is what I think part of why you like it so much.
Oh my god. I just really liked the bond between America and Doctor Strange. I almost call him Steven. Ew. But yeah, I feel like he has a lot of found family within not only America Chavez, but also Wong.
Alright, moving on to my number 2, I touched on a lot of what I wanted to talk about with Wakanda Forever, but with Black Panther, I think it really was an event. When it came out, it was like the biggest thing. Everybody was excited. Everybody was talking about it. The soundtrack was amazing. The soundtrack for the second one is also really good. The music, like when they do the sirens and when the warriors are on screen and stuff and when they're fighting, it's just amazing. But like the first Black Panther was really just a renaissance, I think, for Marvel. And I was like, oh my god, like Marvel's gonna like get so much better. It did it, but
I have this like few movies that I really like.
Yeah, I really love the themes of it, and I wish we had more time with T'Challa. You could see that T'Challa's father, he killed his brother to protect Wakanda's secret and to stop like I guess like a war or like uprisings or whatever. Which I think was very wrong, and Killmonger points it out in Wakanda Forever, and he's like, your father was a hypocrite, your brother was a hypocrite, you guys would have killed that scientist if they were still in charge, versus Shuri, you know, like saving the scientist. And that's the one thing that I don't like, is because at the end of the movie, instead of like having an uprising and like helping his people and doing stuff, they create like an outreach center. I guess they have like more by the second movie, but that's like the one caveat I have. Oh, there's another like negative, I guess, and it's like the screen time of the white boy. Again, don't remember his name, don't care. I'll just call him Colonizer. So like Colonizer, they saved him, and he was like, oh, like maybe black people are good after all because they saved my life, and it's like, no, you were literally like, oh, it just pisses me off so much. Again, let's stop talking about the things that I don't like. The things that I love about the movie is, again, the acting, so amazing. Even Michael B. Jordan, who I think is a little bit corny and sometimes a little bit off-putting, has like, hey auntie, it was like so good. And I think they all had a really good chemistry, and I think Shuri, rewatching it after watching Wakanda Forever and seeing how like carefree and joyous and free she was, like kind of hurts. Because then she becomes like dark and bitter and angry, reasonably so. We're running out of recording space, so let's move on to my number 3. Callum doesn't really have a number 3, but my number 3 is Spider-Man No Way Home. That I don't know if I hate to love it or love to hate it. We also saw this in theater. I think I saw it in theater 2 or 3 times. Like, it was also an event. I think that's what I love about movies, is when they're events. Like Barbie, when we went to see Barbie, we got all dressed up in pink and stuff. Barbie. But, like, going to see it and then Andrew pops out on screen. And I'm like, oh my god. Like, we were all freaking out. It was amazing. And then Toby pops out on screen. And I'm like, oh my god. Spider-Man! Oh my god, it's Spider-Man! Oh my god, it's Spider-Man! I think it was kind of a similar feeling to Spider-Verse, and you get to see all these like crossovers. I think the premise of it and the idea of it is better than the execution of it. Unfortunately, rewatching it now, the first half just kind of drags on, and it doesn't make a lot of sense, and Doctor Strange doing that stupid fucking spell without like thinking through his fucking thoughts is dumb as fuck. Sorry. I'm a hater. I'm a Doctor Strange hater.
I'm very clearly the opposite.
Hater, like, he's a smart boy. And, again, he's just a boy in the movie. He's like, what, like 17, 18? 16. Like, we're getting ready to go to college. And so, it's like, I can forgive him for being stupid because he's a child. But, Mr. Strange, you dumb motherfucker.
Doctor, not Mr., not Sir, Doctor Strange. Sorry. I love when he does that.
He reminds me a lot of Iron Man. I think that's why I don't like him.
Okay, but Doctor Strange actually, like, experienced things. To my knowledge, Iron Man...
He also experienced things, I guess, but he's a war criminal, and funded the U.S. military, which we don't approve of. And you only really get excited when, when Doc Ock gets on screen. That's when I was like, oh, fuck, this is a movie. This is a fucking movie. When he's so amazing. And again, maybe it's just nostalgia from us, but I think the villains in old movies, I think that's part of why we don't like Marvel movies, is because the villains are just kind of lackluster. But when Doc Ock, the original Doc Ock, pops out, and he's just so charismatic, and he's like, hello, Peter, it's really just something else. And then, again, it's like the hype versus what the movie actually is and says and does. And then when the Green Goblin bomb comes onto the bridge, I was so disappointed when they cut away. I was like, no, Green Goblin. Green Goblin's my favorite. Specifically Willem Dafoe's Green Goblin.
Yes.
Willem Dafoe carried. He fucking carried. When Peter's punching him in the face and then he looks up and like, ha ha ha. I was like, yes, that's my Green Goblin.
Every single time he opened his mouth to laugh or cackle, it chills instantly.
Like, y'all don't understand. Y'all really don't, because the movies these days, the Marvel movies these days, they can't do it. But that's another thing that I think they did. They relied on that nostalgia and those callbacks and I'm something of a scientist myself and all that stuff to make the movie good instead of making the movie good. Don't really like Tom Holland's Spider-Man movies. Tom Holland as Spider-Man, he's amazing. I think he deserved a lot better than to be Tony Stark's little sidekick.
None of this would have happened if you would just listen to me. If you even cared, you'd actually be here. Oh my god, it's Robert Downey Jr.
Before we run out of time, we gotta talk about Aunt May. When she was like, her speech was different. They made it like really jumbled and stuff, but she basically said, with great power comes great responsibility. And I was like, oh, it's a wrap. She's gonna die. She's gonna die. And then she was like, oh, I'm okay. And then I was like, no, she's gonna die. And then she died. And I didn't really cry.
I cried. Because she was like, it's okay, I'm fine. Just relax, I'll be okay. And Peter's like, we'll get you out of here. We can save you. And then she's like,
I just don't think it was as impactful. But I do love that Goblin killed her because he's OG. He is. I'm sorry. Andrew saved, and we're calling them by the actors' names instead of Peter because it's Peter and Spider-Man. They're all the same. Peter 1, Peter 2, Peter 3. That was pretty funny.
I love you guys.
I think that was like ad-lib, right?
It was.
And then
it
they
was.
were like, ear.
That's why they looked so genuinely confused. Because freaking who was it?
Andrew's
like, guys, wait. I love you. And they're like,
okay. When Andrew saves Zendaya, MJ, that was amazing.
fucking tearing up just thinking about it, bro.
The way he like held her and he was like, are you okay? Are you okay? Like he should have got his third Spider-Man. Y'all are fucking haters. I was a hater too. I didn't even watch Andrew's Spider-Mans until after No Way Home. Toby, I wish that they had just said, oh yeah, me and MJ lived happily ever after and have a few spider babies running around, instead of being like, things are still complicated. Cause he's old as fuck. He deserves that happy ending. There were just some beats, a lot of beats actually, that were really off to me. But that scene where Tom is using his spidey sense and he's like, something's wrong, cause he doesn't know Goblin's evil yet. That was amazing. Everybody like was silent in the theater. Everybody was like, what's going on? What's wrong? Like, what's happening? That was so good. And it's moments like that make up for the lack of plot, the lack of just a lot of character development, and the way they treat MJ, I don't really like. There's a great essay by like CJ and the X, I think, about how like it's like No Way Home is like kind of sexist, and they're like talking about how like MJ has a lot of like drive, and she really advocates for herself, but then Peter's like, oh no, you don't deserve to like know about your past life and about our relationship, even though you promised me that you would like come and find me. I think it's in character for Peter because he is sort of like a martyr, even in the Toby ones, where he's like, me and MJ can't be together because she'll be in danger and stuff. But I didn't like it. Ned, he's such a cutie. I'm gonna defend him with like all my life, and like he's the guy in the chair, and he like really loves and supports Peter. But then again, his memory gets wiped, and then he doesn't tell him. It's only in my top 3 because of Andrew and Tom. And I have seen people, they're like, well, the original movie, the first movie wasn't his origin story, the second movie wasn't his origin story.
Get his origin
All
story.
3 are combined are his origin story. But I think that kind of takes away from the essence of Spider-Man. And what we all loved about it growing up, and why Sony only bought Spider-Man, because he's the best.
He's down bad. Yes! That's my Spider-Man right there. That's the Spider-Man I love. Ruin his life!
That's all for today's episode. Thank you guys for sticking around. If you guys didn't see last week's episode, it's about the Hunger Games. If you're interested in both Marvel and the Hunger Games, then maybe you should watch that one. I'm Mary Catherine.
I'm Callum.
You can find me at Mary Catherine at I'm Mary Catherine on Instagram, and at I'm Mary Catherine on YouTube.
We'll put my socials in the thing because I have numbers in my thing and I don't like saying the numbers.
Yeah. Thank you guys so much for joining us. Please subscribe. If you subscribe, you'll get a free iPhone and a free PlayStation 5. And,
no, you won't. We're poor.
And a free Bugatti and a free Elon Musk cardboard cutout and this kitten.
No. It says it's about 3 weeks after Endgame, where I think Endgame was when Wanda had to... Stop doing that! You're distracting me! I know more than you, I can guarantee it.
Y'all,
Be gentle.
I'm right, you're wrong, shut up. It's Eugene's.
Yeah, I know it's Eugene's.
He knocks the fucking camera
He tried
down.
too early.
Hey!
12 seconds later.
Damn! You transferred it to me.